Let's just slide in. Let me make sure the pans are right. The pans, what an interesting thing to call it. They weren't. I'm changing them now. So now I'm 80% right. I wonder if you'll be able to hear that difference. And now you are 80% left.
Ooh.
So,
Wait,
welcome.
On both my inputs?
On one of your inputs. Good catch. Welcome to episode -5 of Mason and I's podcast. We are very happy you are here, having heard episode 6 and deciding... Actually, who am I kidding? Nobody listened to episode -6.
Hey, 31 people did.
Okay, actually, that is what I want to start off this episode with, was a recap of episode -6, because the whole point of doing these negative episodes is to improve. So hopefully, by the time we get to episode 1, we're not pumping out pure garbage, because to be honest, I had to edit episode -6, and I had to listen to like 4 hours of us trying to make a podcast, and I can guarantee that the 2.5 hours that we pumped out was not even nearly as bad as the hours I cut out. And that was agonizing for me. I think we can do better. I think we can. But to start off with, the episode -6, 2 hours, 32 minutes, bit lengthy.
It's a bit long.
It's a bit long and a bit ambitious for people who nobody cared to listen to. So I'm going to do a little recap here. I got it pulled up right here. So we got 4 likes. Not bad. It was published on November 5th. Today is November 25th. So it's been up for 20 days. It took us 20 days to film another episode or record another episode.
That will change.
I think our goal moving forward is to record more frequently and less long podcasts, but we'll see how that goes. Again, I don't want to slap a time limit on this. So we got 32 views in 20 days. That's not bad.
No, I'd say that's more than a view a day.
That is more views than I expected. Even though I am very aware that most of those views, if not all those views, were people saying like, oh, look, this motherfucker's trying to make a podcast, click through it, maybe 2 little locations, and then they immediately decide, this is boring, I don't want to waste my time on that, which is what I would have done, no offense. But I would like to draw everyone's attention, if you didn't notice it, to the comment section where I commented little timestamps. You can click those. It'll take you to a time where we talk about whatever is labeled there. We did also get 2 comments. Shout out to Robert Berg, whoever that is. The internet's crazy. You never know who you're talking to.
What did Robert Berg say to us?
So Robert said, 2 hours and 32 minutes, only 2 hours and 29 minutes to go, ... And I like, my favorite part about that comment is the ... because it insinuates he's totally going to do it. He's totally going to listen to the next 2 hours.
Kind of assumes a condescending attitude, though, you know? Like, he's 3 minutes in, he's already thinking about the end.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Glad you listened, Robert Berg.
Yeah. And then we got Jordan Rowe. He says, I love it, LMAO, which means laughing my ass off, in case you're listening to this 10,000 years in the future, which was really nice. I got to give out my first heart, because the last time I posted a video on YouTube, you could not heart comments. So thanks, Jordan. I know you didn't listen to it. I'm not going to pretend like I think you did, but thanks for the comment.
It means a lot to us.
Yeah, it really does. Okay, so that's enough of the recap of that. How did you think the first episode -6 went, in your opinion?
It was a little bit long, I would say. It took me a couple sittings to make it all the way through myself, and I have a very vested interest in it. So I could definitely see how people that who aren't necessarily in the podcast like you and I could not listen to that one all the way through, which is understandable.
I did have one person who listened to it all the way through, and she texted me as she was listening to it. So I got some great constructive criticism. Which I'll read now, actually. I have the text right here. So the first comment was at 11:30 a.m. I'll say the timestamps just so you have a reference of how far into the podcast she was. So that's sort of our reference. She says, you guys need a jingle, which, to be honest, I agree. I think our intros are kind of bullshit They're kind of boring. They're kind of lame. They could use some music. What do you think of that?
I think that's a great idea. I think that a catchy jingle that stays in people's head
Yeah.
hooks them for the future, you know?
Yeah.
I remember I still sing Glenn's Tire Service will always take care of my car.
Yep.
And I haven't heard that commercial since I was 8.
That's true.
So
yeah.
I think that's
something that'll stick in your head. Like a thought virus. And then she said 2 hours and 26 minutes is a long time for a podcast. That one was 1 minute after she started. Fair. I would say that's fair.
Yeah.
To be fair though, I kind of intended for this to be something that you put on kind of in the background if you want to, or maybe listen to it in chunks, if you're set on that. But the third comment, she said, "Aw." She legit said "aw" when Mason said he's doing it for Sawyer. And follow-up note, we talked to Sawyer about the podcast.
Kind of disappointing. He didn't listen to it.
He didn't even listen to it, that bastard. Which, I think at some point we got to talk, share some embarrassing story about Sawyer randomly in one of our episodes, just so that hopefully he hears me saying what I just said, and now he listens to them all out of fear so he can hear whatever we say. She likes that we describe ourselves as two average guys. And she says she has a complaint. This one was an hour and 15 minutes in. So she's really going for it. She says that she wants us to talk at the same level. And that's because depending on where your volume's set, either I sound super loud and you sound like you're talking normally, or I sound like I'm talking normally and you sound like you're talking very quietly.
Addressing that, we made a concerted effort to fix that with this episode. So you might notice that I'm in your left ear now.
Yep, and I'm in your right. Hopefully, assuming we don't lose that in the processing of this video or this audio, which I don't think should happen.
That would be very sad.
Know. That would be.
But if we made our best effort to make our volume sound the same and very listen-toable. If you have any complaints with that, again, just let us know in the comment section down below. We'd much appreciate that.
And please, just comment on our videos. If you're feeling like, oh, they're going to think I'm weird. No, I like comments. I like comments a lot. I would rather have 10 comments and 10 views than 100 views and no comments. Fact. I love the interaction. I love being able to talk to people, and I love knowing that people are actually listening to this and not just clicking. Even though I'm aware nobody gives a fuck about our podcast. And then another great criticism she had was that it's kind of tough to listen to because at the beginning of an episode you don't know what's going to be talked about. You're just kind of taking it on faith. Like the title of the video is literally MF Podcast episode -6.
Not much there.
2.5 hours. Who's going to commit to it if that's all you get? And then the thumbnail is like some picture of us like smiling with just episode -6. I was proud that I made that thumbnail. That was hard. I made that in PowerPoint.
That was an impressiff thumbnail.
Yeah.
I looked at it and I was like, wow, this is...
Yep. I made it in PowerPoint and then I screenshotted it.
Yep. For the record, at Iowa State, where we both go to, every single student has access to Photoshop, Illustrator, like Light Desk.
Yeah.
All kinds of things to make just beautiful displays. And Forrest chose to go with PowerPoint. But
well, Keystone, to be fair, I'm on an Apple. I'm on a Mac.
Oh, he's on a Mac, so we use PowerPoint. That makes sense.
So she says she would like it if there was a list before the podcast of things we hit during the podcast. So my idea with that is moving forward. We're not going to do it on this one, but maybe next time after we record the podcast, maybe we'll record like a 3 or 5 minute segment or something where we talk briefly, sort of like a index or like a table of contents where we say like at this minute, at 20 minutes in, we start talking about, Mason's anal bleeding or something like that. And then
wow.
Well, what?
Wow.
What? You didn't want everyone to know about that?
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't want everyone to know about that, but now everyone knows about that. So
Mason's
just play
ass
it
is
off
not
as a joke.
Mason's ass is not bleeding. Just so you know, I expected him to defend himself and he didn't. But just to set the record straight, he has a unbloodied asshole, to my knowledge, at least.
Wow, we're really jumping right into it today, huh?
Well, when I was listening to it as well, personally, I thought it was almost intolerable when we were talking about things like Brett Kavanaugh and stuff like that. Like it almost seemed like we were trying too hard and not just having the casual conversation. Whereas the parts that I thought were the most entertaining was at the very end there, where I somehow like it came out that you never swear in front of your girlfriend of like 5 years. I thought that was. I still am mind blown by that.
She actually didn't listen to that first podcast episode. I still haven't told her that because I'm mildly self-conscious that I swore very aggressively in the very first like 10 minutes of it.
Yeah, well,
but
you can like pray or something. I'm sure you'll be fine.
I'll pray the swear away.
Yeah. And that was it. That was the end of the criticisms and constructive feedback.
I only received one. I wouldn't say criticism, I guess, mildly criticism, just comments on the podcast. And that was from my dad, who said, I listened to about the first 5 minutes of it. Then I said, I don't want to do this. I didn't listen to it, which kind of hurts because
that means our hook's not good. And to be honest, I think a hook is a big deal. I think we only have like the next negative couple episodes. We got to figure out the hook because most people don't like podcasts in general. And nobody is going to just go out on a limb for some guys who just randomly decided to start a podcast if they don't have a good hook. So we got to think of a good hook. I don't care if it's something clickbaity or what. And also, I got to do a better job of titling these things because episode -6, what? I'm not going to click that. It should be called like Logan Paul fucked me in the ass.
With a toothbrush.
He fucked me with a toothbrush. That's a bit of a meta reference for anybody who's big into YouTube. And you know what? Maybe that's another thing we could talk about is just YouTube bullshit. Because you know how people get big on YouTube these days? They talk about YouTube drama.
That's true. I actually thought about that. But I was going to talk about that later when we talked about in what we're going to do at our new job.
Okay. Yeah, we can slide into that. How many minutes in are we now? I'm going to put a timestamp in my little notes here. So we made it 13 minutes around 13 minutes in. Yeah, so we're going to be living together. I say that in a questionable way because I'm not sure we are going to be living together. I know we'll be working at the same place for the same people, but
we have not put a request in or made any effort besides just saying like, oh, we're living together.
Yeah, but it almost might be worth it to message them and say, like, can we live together? Because when we're working for Rockwell Collins, we're going to be living in Manchester, which is a very, very small town in Iowa. That's probably why you've never heard of it, most likely. And I assume we're just going to be living in some sort of apartment complex or maybe like sort of like a dorm style type.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. They explained it to me when they first offered me the job, and they specifically said if you know anybody else that says they have this position, you can request a room with them. So I know we can request. I just wonder if it's too late because we're kind of cutting it close, especially with.
We actually should definitely email them because that would think about how shitty it would be if, like,
we both got stuck with two boners.
Yeah, like, and just think about the massive increase of, like, quality of life it would be of just living together versus with some random person.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm all for living with random people, but
it
would be so much better.
It'd be magnitudes better just to live with each other, because then we can still have people over all the time if we find people that we really want to hang out with.
Mm-hmm. I know you only have one experience with a random roommate, which is currently I have had many experiences with many different roommates, and I have lived with people who I have lived with a guy who worked night shifts and would come home, or like he would work like all day or something. No. He worked all night and then he would sleep all day. So like his hours were really weird. He always had some really loud Australian chick in our living room. He was in our clan, in Clash of Clans.
Hey, wow.
I lived with people who were stoners to the extent of just being baked like almost all the time. I lived with a guy who sold drugs once. I lived with a guy who was like on steroids most likely and was just a total like meathead a lot of the time. I liked all of them, you know. I guess I shouldn't say he was on steroids. That's sort of like an assumption based on a few conversations we had. But I've liked almost all of them. But there is a risk factor to it as well, as you can see with your random roommate.
I'm 0 for 1 on random roommates.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't listen to this.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about that because last episode I really debated talking some smack. Then I realized...
No, talk the smack. Because you know what I was thinking about? The only way we're going to get people engaged in here is if we engage their limbic systems, which is like their emotions and shit. Like, we got to talk about fucking. We got to talk about fighting. We got to talk about, other bullshit that engages people's emotions. That's what people are interested in. It's the bare truth.
All right, well, we'll just jump right into it then. My roommate, he's a very big fella, which it's not innately bad. I have nothing against him because he's a little bit larger, a little bit overweight.
Is he fat?
Yeah, he's fat, okay? But I just associate just the stench of our room with like his body fat percentage.
Now that could be unfair.
That could be unfair, but
you live in Helzer.
It doesn't smell like anything besides just sweat and body odor.
Okay.
And I notice it, like it's not me. I know that for a fact because at least I don't smell my own.
Because your farts smell like roses, right? Like pixie dust.
Because I go in there and like I lived there for an entire 24 hours after Thanksgiving break, which we just got back for, before he got here. And the room after with a week of nobody living in it, it smelled 100% neutral, which for a room is very good. And then he rolled up, and I left to go to the computer lab to work on my SolidWorks homework that you assigned me. And I come back.
Yes, we should have talked about that. That's not on the list of topics. But sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
I come back, and the room smells like a mixture of pizza rolls and sweat and just bad body odor. And that was exactly what it smelled like before we left. Like he came back, and the stench resumed.
That's too bad.
It is too bad because it makes me... I don't want to have people over into my room.
Do you ever have people hang out in your dorm room?
No, nobody ever hangs out in my dorm room. Which is kind of sad. But it's also obnoxious. I have many complaints with him. They're all like small complaints. None of them would be damning on their own. But he chews extremely loudly.
Okay.
Like, I'm not talking like...
We're talking like food, not like chewing tobacco, right?
Yeah, no, we're talking about food.
Okay.
Which is almost... I might say it's worse. Actually,
well,
I guess...
chewing tobacco comes with a smell, and then you always have these cups full of some mystery sludge.
That's true. I guess it's mostly just the frequency. Because like I said, he's a bit overweight, and he consumes a lot of food. It's pretty much any time he's in the room, he's eating. And the weirdest things he smacks his lips with. Like, he's eating potato chips, and it sounds like he's, like, sucking on a sucker. Which is just uncomfortable. In addition, I was sitting in the room doing my homework one day, and I get up and turn around, and he's laying in his bed watching Pornhub.
What time was this?
This
really
was like...
paint a picture. Remember, limbic system engagement. Paint the picture.
7 o'clock. I'm sweating and toiling away, hunched over my desk.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling just... Honestly, I'm almost ecstatic at that point, because I had like an assignment that I've been working on for like 6 hours. I just turned it in. Okay. Everything's going good. I'm going to go take a shower, going to brush my teeth, and I'm going to go to bed.
Great.
Which is, everything's looking up, right?
Yep.
And it's dark outside. I get up, I turn my lamp off, and I look over, and the only light in the room is
the glow.
Is the mild glow from his
The
iPhone
aura.
and just like the white on his face. And I just see he's not watching a video at that point, but he's just scrolling through,
Just perusing.
just perusing, trying to find out what to do next. And to be honest, I was really just taken aback. I almost didn't know what to do. I was in a state of like disbelief. I was like, there's no way he's sitting there scrolling through Pornhub when I'm just sitting over here. Like we're literally maximum 6 feet apart. Right. Dorms are pretty small.
Yeah.
And there he is. In addition, this will really engage the limbic system. I woke up one night in the middle of the night in a sheer state of terror, right?
Okay.
Because the noise is coming from beneath me. I don't want to like.
Oh, you guys have like a bunk bed set up?
Yeah, we have bunk beds set up.
Oh no, the vibrations must be awful.
Well, my bed is actually not connected to his. His is just like sitting underneath mine, so I don't get the vibrations.
Okay.
But
But
the noises. It sounds like trying to think of some. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. I'm 80% sure he was masturbating.
okay.
Just beating his meat. Right beneath me. It's like maybe 1 a.m. And usually I'm asleep by then. So I'm wondering if he's just like in the habit of doing this
Every night.
every
Yeah.
night. Just thinking
He
I'm
could be.
asleep. Which is mind blowing to me that he has like he's
The
even
balls.
able to get it up
He's
with
yeah.
another dude in the same room.
Think
like-
about that.
That's
You want to know something weird? I did not. Oh, fuck it. I'll tell the podcast. Who gives a fuck? Anybody listening to this podcast is clearly close enough to me that they can know this. I didn't jerk off one time in my dorm room. One time. I did not do it.
wow.
Yep. I know that. I'm sure that's actually like nutty.
No, it's not.
That was a fair zing.
Do you wanna go into it and say like I mean
Do I
how
want
far?
it? So is that what we're talking about?
Like
This
I
one?
mean I'm assuming you had.
Should that be the,
I
that
don't
could be like
know.
the title of this episode? Jerking off in the dorms. MF podcast episode -5. Jerking off in the dorms.
That would really set a podcast.
But
in a
yeah,
direction
well,
that-
and the funniest thing is we got onto this, and my talking point written here on my notepad is living together ? At Rockwell Collins, and somehow we got all the way to jerking off in the dorms. But you know what? You might have heard it. I cracked open a can. That was beer. I decided, fuck it. Joe Rogan drinks during his podcast, and he has millions of views. So I figured I'd give it a shot, see if I can get some of those juicy views.
and he had Elon Musk with him. Elon Musk, if
Yeah.
you're listening,
Well, I'm sure
Leave
Elon
it-
Musk had nothing to do with the views. I'm sure it was the alcohol.
you're probably right. Alcohol, if you're listening, hit us up in the comments if you want to do a podcast with us.
Mm-hmm.
That also goes to you, Elon, if you're listening.
Could you imagine? How crazy would that be? How like ground shattering would that be if Elon Musk like joined us on our podcast? Like two like non-existent, like he doesn't even know we exist, I'm sure of it. Kids from Iowa with 32 views on their first episode, and he's like, you know what?
That
Let's
would
make a
slingshot
difference.
us.
That would slingshot
That
us
would-
for sure.
That would almost be like catastrophic if we like didn't have.
Oh,
like,
it totally would be.
Before we made it to episode 1, if Elon Musk came on in a negative episode,
Yeah,
things-
we'd have such low quality. Everyone would be talking shit. They'd be like, who are these guys? Sounds like they're fucking gargling cum in my ear.
wow.
Maybe I need to reel back the vulgarity.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyways, yeah, you're right. I should reel it back. So back to jerking off in the dorm room. The thing with jerking off in the dorm room is everybody does it, but everybody wants to pretend like they don't. So the showers are not a place you would want to be barefoot in.
Which is why it's very terrible for me because I'm barefoot in there
Yeah, I was barefoot as well.
every day. And I know, I
was.
thought about that the first couple of days I was there. I was like,
No.
everyone here lives with a roommate. A lot of them are randoms. They don't know their roommates. They're not going to say, hey, can you step out for 3 to 5 minutes
Yeah.
or whatever? I guess that might be.
Well, you know, the thing was, I would get these texts from my roommate like, hey, when are you coming home? And I immediately translated that to, I'm erect and I want to know if I can do what needs to be done. Are you going to interrupt?
That's very nice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good relationship that you had with your roommate, I would say.
It was. It was a good relationship. But the main point I want to get to, just because I don't want to spend 20 minutes talking about jerking off in the dorm rooms, is this kid. I forget his name, but we all called him Jack because he jacked off so damn much. And he didn't do it in like a harmless way. He did it in the mornings, in the showers. Now, we only had 4 showers for everybody in Helzer Ritchie, which is like the section of Helzer that we lived in. So we had maybe like 100 or 200 kids or whatever that had 4 showers. Now at like 7:30 a.m., this kid would be in the shower, and he would be in there for, I'm not even kidding, like 45 minutes. Now everybody's got to get up and shower before their class, right? Or at least everybody wants to shower in the morning instead of at night. So I remember standing in line for the shower almost every day and seeing this fucking kid, and you would hear it. You would just hear it. And at the end of the semester, he started having there was some sort of like machine. Like it sounded like he was like fucking a shampoo bottle. Like it was like a plastic click, like rhythmic. And then one time, I remember I was in the shower, and at this point I had grown to recognize everybody by their feet, because I had seen everyone's feet so much in the shower under the curtains. And so I bent over, sure enough, recognized his fucking sandals, and I swear to God, I saw the cum hit the floor. I swear to God.
No way.
I swear to God.
Wow.
And it was fucked. And I still, for some reason, did not wear sandals anymore. I still didn't wear flip-flops. But I saw that. And everyone hated this kid. It was so, everybody knew this fucker was just jerking off. Weird kid. Anyways, now we've gone on for around 15 minutes on that subject. I'd like to put a peg in that one and stop talking about jerking off in the dorm rooms. I think
that's a good idea.
Limbic systems have been engaged. Let's go back to living at Rockwell Collins. So I see living at Rockwell Collins as an opportunity. We're going to be there for 8 months. And I personally have always held the philosophy that every time something major shifts in your life, like moving, changing your relationship status, breaking up after a long time, or maybe even starting a relationship that will go long term, or at least you hope so, or anything like that change. Or maybe if you had to ride the bus all the time and now all of a sudden you've got a car, something that changes your routine, changes your habits, is a great time to try and change more habits. So what I mean by this is, like, I move out to North Ames, where I live now. There's a gym across the street. My whole schedule is shifted. I don't have any of those like bad habits of like hanging out with like my roommate, or like going and dicking around in the yard or whatever, or like watching TV forever. When you move, it's a good time to try and build new habits, because you got to build new habits anyways. Might as well try and build good habits. And this is going to be a pretty big shift for both of us, living in a different town with different people, and pretty much no contact with most of the people we normally would hang out with for 8 months. So I think this is a good time to really set some goals and go for it. Because if we don't, I could see us totally like wasting this and just like sitting in front of the TV and Xbox every day after work, like every day. So some of the things I was thinking about goal-wise were things like going to the gym every day, like keeping track of how much we're each like benching and squatting, that sort of stuff, pushing each other. I was even thinking about learning to play an instrument. And then we talked about doing an Ironman.
Triathlon, for those of you that
don't
necessarily know what it is. It's the...
Do you remember how the distances are in an Ironman?
I generally remember them. You start out with a nice brisk 2.4 mile swim.
That's a long swim. That takes like... What, like an hour or 2 hours or something?
Probably around like an hour and a half for us
swimming like pretty hard in open water usually.
So it's pretty intense. Swim's pretty difficult. Then you get out of the water and you sprint to your bicycle, hop on it. You bike 112 miles.
112 miles.
Which is quite.
That's like a
miles.
long day of Ragbri. That's like doing the century loop in Ragbri and then still going 12 miles.
Yeah, and then After that, you run a full marathon, which is 26.2.
Yeah. So it's a bit.
So
I don't think we could do it right now. We definitely have to train a lot.
Yes. It is a solid. If we go super fast, we might finish maybe under 11 hours.
Yeah.
Which is a long time to be continuously.
Well, what time do you start? You start at like 7 a.m., don't you?
Yeah.
So that's not bad. You have to finish before midnight or you're disqualified, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I would do it. And then worst case scenario, I just run, like I walk a mile, run a mile, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that if you put in a little bit of work before, anybody can do it.
I mean, it still sucks.
Yeah, it's just like a mental game. Like, I ran a marathon, and I am convinced after doing it, anyone can run a marathon. It sucks. But I am convinced that anyone could complete that distance if that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping it's the same for an Ironman. It will take definitely more work going into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that if that's something we want to do, there's 100% chance that we can finish that.
Mm. So. Yeah, I think that would be a good. I think that'd be a good goal to set because the Madison Ironman is in the following fall, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the second weekend of September.
Yeah, so we could totally be because we'd be coming back in August. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
which means we could totally be like ready to go if we were training every week or every day or whatever that would be.
Yeah. Also, I watched Creed 1, the essentially sequel to Rocky.
Oh, and now you're hyped up?
Now I'm hyped up. I saw that Michael B. Jordan.
Hot guy.
Great that bod. Man he's toned.
Yeah.
He's a big guy. Yeah. I would love to look like that.
No, yeah. It gets you hyped up. It gets you. Those movies get you amped. Maybe we could even watch them. We could watch them every day. That would be a waste of time.
That would be a huge waste of time.
Maybe we could listen to a song from it every day.
Yeah.
And then go for a run.
Yeah.
You'd probably kick my ass in running. I've always hated running. I did cross country in 7th grade, and then I didn't want to do it ever again. A lot of people were saying run, Forrest, run at me, and it was confusing. I had never seen Forrest Gump at the time. Then I did it again my senior year, and I goofed around so much. So much.
I did pretty much the same thing. I did it my junior year. That was essentially my 7th grade run where I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to work hard. And it was awful. And then I did it my senior year because all my friends were in it again. And I said, I'm going to try to run as little as possible. And it was fun.
I bet it was.
Then after I graduated and I was done with high school sports, didn't really have much motivation. I lifted casually, but you still get kind of fat if you just lift.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't watch what you eat.
Oh, that, yeah.
And I wasn't watching when I was eating, and I was just lifting. Watched myself get kind of chubby, and I said, you know what? I got to do something about this. So I said, screw it, I'm gonna do a marathon. I hated running at first too, but I just started putting in a podcast and just chugging.
Mm-hmm. That gave me a great idea. I'm even gonna write this down. So my idea. Okay, and here's my thought train. So you say that, and I start thinking like, okay, kind of chubby, kind of buff. If we do an Ironman, we're going to get pretty cut. Why don't we put a picture of ourselves shirtless in the thumbnail? That always gets people involved. Why don't we put a picture of us shirtless in the thumbnail, clearly photoshopped? And then, admitted in the podcast, obviously. But
it's going to be photoshopped right now. We admitted it. It's photoshopped.
Yeah, it's. And then that took me down a thought train of what if we just take turns making the most clickbait possible thumbnails? That's like technically true. It's not like a lie, but it's like Mr. Beast, he'll do stuff where he's like, I bought 10,000 fans and now I can fly or something like that. And then the thumbnail is like him with like a huge fucking apparatus attached to him flying around with like 10,000 fans. And then in the video he does buy 10,000 fans and he does like set them up, but the thumbnail never happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like something like that. I think that would actually be hilarious. I'm gonna make a note of that. And I'm just gonna write clickbait thumbnails. Clickbait thumbnails for our podcast.
We're gonna get content copped.
If we got content copped, that would be the best thing that could ever happen to us. Okay, clickbait thumbnails. Okay.
Is there anything else besides just getting toned that you want to do?
I mean, not specifically get toned. Like I'm talking like real goals, other than just like look more fuckable. Sorry, Mom, if you're actually listening to this. I don't think Mom will listen to this.
No, Mom doesn't get technology.
Yeah. But like I'm talking specific, like almost like health goals. Like I want, and looking good is of course a very like a fair goal. That's a good goal. Like I think, for example, if somebody works really hard to have like a great body, they shouldn't be hated if they are. I mean, of course, you can get excessive, but if somebody like is posting like a transformation body picture on social media, I don't think you should get hate for that any more than someone who is like announcing they graduated from college should get hate for that. Because some people, you know, like bragging about like intellectual achievement, I don't think is like it's an achievement, you know, just like anything else. And I think having a very nice body, like being fit, like I'm talking like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson fit, that's something nobody can like give you. Nobody can take it away. Like somebody could be rich, somebody could have a great job and not be an
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
You know, like a stellar person. They could not be a stellar person, but maybe they just fell into it. They got hooked up. Like they got connections. Like I have tons of friends who have great jobs and are super rich, and they sucked. Like I'm talking sub, like their GPA was in the zeros, like not even a 1.0 like GPA, and they somehow got jobs. Like you can get that handed to you, but if you're like a fit dude, assuming you're not like taking steroids and stuff, that's respectable. I think that's something nobody can give you or take away. But another note I had here was in relation to the Xbox, because I think that's our biggest like trap that we have to avoid. Because I don't know about you, man, but I am it's like hard. I'm like weak. It's tough for me to like, and I think everyone's like this. It's just that I'm like extremely aware of like how much the screens keep pulling you in. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I thought that I bought an Xbox like 2 weeks ago, and for the first time we plugged it in over Thanksgiving break. And I said to myself, yeah, this should just be like this will enhance my life, you know? This would just be like, if I have like an hour that I just say, you know what, I just want to totally relax. I'll like turn the Xbox on, and I'll just relax for an hour. But
that's not how it is.
That's, at least for me, that is not how it is. Me and Forrest, we set it up. We got Fortnite on it, which is pretty hip right now. If you're wondering what like time period we're in, Fortnite's in. And we literally played it for like I would go, he would go, I would go, he would go.
Yep. There goes the afternoon. We played for like 6 or 7 hours, I'm pretty sure.
A long time. And then after that very same day,
Sawyer came
home. I bought Call of Duty World at War.
And we played
with zombies. We played Nazi zombies until like 2 to 3 a.m.
Yeah. Think about that time frame. Noon all the way, to 2 a.m. That's insane. That's 14 hours. That's over half a day. Now, I admit that's a bit of an outlier case, but even now that I still don't own an Xbox, but both of my housemates do right now, and I still end up spending way more time than necessary. And the problem comes when I have other stuff I have to get done, but it's just so easy to justify it. It's like, well, I don't have class till noon tomorrow. I'll get it done tomorrow morning. Well, it's technically possible, but it's not a good idea to live in such a way that requires, that like necessitates you do everything at the last minute. Like there's no reason that like logically I should spend an hour playing Fortnite when I have an 8-hour assignment due tomorrow night that I haven't started. Like technically I have 8 hours tomorrow. I will be able to get it done, but I should not go downstairs and play Fortnite after this. Like no way.
Right. And that's
you
the
know
trap
what's
that we could.
probably gonna happen.
We're gonna get done. I'm gonna say, well, the bus comes in half an hour, and you're gonna say, well, let's just sit here and play Fortnite
We'll
until
play
it
a quick
gets here.
game.
I'm gonna head out. You're gonna keep playing Fortnite.
Yikes.
Yeah. Well,
Oh God, that and that Fortnite is just one example that pertains to us. The pitfall of these screens can happen in many different ways. Like, for example, somebody else might have a problem with social media. Personally, social media is not a huge issue for me. I like deleted all of them off my phone. I just recently put Twitter back on, but Twitter never has really gotten me. But Instagram can really suck you in for a long time. And then Reddit also will take up massive amounts of my time. But at least with Reddit, I feel like I'm gaining something because I'm just sort of getting information about the world or like learning about certain things. But these things really suck you in. Facebook, I think, is a big one for a lot of people. A lot of people.
Not for us, I don't think. I'm assuming.
No, definitely not for me.
Facebook never even had any hold on me.
No,
never. Seemed appealing.
But these things are designed to be addicting. And a big sign that something is designed to be addicting and just take as much of your time as possible is like infinite scroll. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're scrolling down and there's never like you don't click next page. You just keep scrolling. It doesn't ever end. So there's no natural stopping point. You just go and go and go and go. And before you know it, you sat down to do one thing. You got a Facebook notification. All of a sudden, 20 minutes have gone by. Like, you didn't mean to do that. You just were sucked in. They hijacked your brain.
Yeah.
Pure and simple. Like these websites, all of them, like they're advertising websites and we are the product, right? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they're not, like Facebook is not a social networking site. Like they don't exist to connect me with people. They are an advertising website that advertises to me that happens to keep me there by networking me with other people.
Yeah.
And I think that's where like the root of people's sort of misconceptions with stuff like that comes from. But yeah, so I think the Xbox would be a good thing to avoid, but I also don't want to say like absolutely not, because I do think there are positives from it. Like it could be on a rainy day, or like we come home and we're just fucking tired of shit and I don't feel like practicing an instrument, or I don't feel like whatever, or maybe we already went to the gym and there's just nothing going on. It has a place. But if it gets to the point where we come home from work every day, we never go to the gym, we never go for a run, we just sit down and play Xbox.
Yeah, that's a dangerous lifestyle.
Yeah,
that
chronic laziness.
The Xbox is like we set all these goals out, and like there's a non-zero chance that if the Xbox is involved, that
we don't meet just. Well, that's why it's important to set goals. I think otherwise it's easier. For
that's
the
true.
time.
Now we've said that we want to do an Iron Man Out Loud.
Yeah. Well, we haven't confirmed it. We've talked about.
That's true. Well, I've confirmed.
You're
Mason,
doing it?
I'm doing it. I've that's why I did the marathon this year.
Oh, fuck. All right, I'll do it too then. What was Mom's time?
Like 12 hours and a half or something.
She did it in 12 hours. So even if I go the speed of Mom, I'll still have 5 hours extra. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can totally do it. It'll be agony. I'm sure of it.
But then we can get a tattoo that says the Iron Man, you know?
Oh, I will totally get a tattoo. I would totally. But one thing about an Iron Man, I think, is it's a lot like sex in high school. It's only cool as long as you're not talking about it. Like, nobody gives a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just talk about it all the time. Like, I did an Iron Man. Like, hey, my name's Forrest Berg. I did an Iron Man. Nobody gives a fuck, right? It's awesome, and people remember it, but you don't need to tell everyone about it. But I'll still totally get the tattoo.
Oh, of course. That'll make people ask me about it, and then they open the door themselves, and I can come in and talk about it.
Yeah, like, oh, do you have any tattoos? I'll be like, yeah.
Got this one right here. Oh, what does it mean to you? Oh, well, let me get started on it.
Yeah, bitch. You see how it says Iron Man on it? What does it mean to me? It's a reminder of how fucking dope I am. Anyways, right now, the viewer is probably watching a video of me repotting my Venus flytrap. 44 minutes. Yeah, so they might have actually already missed it. Sorry to change the subject so abruptly, but I felt like we had beaten that horse to death.
Oh, that horse has been beaten off so hard.
Okay, I don't want to go back in the jerking off subject. The Venus flytrap I repotted. It's been repotted. Right now, dear listener, you are probably seeing the video of the snow falling. You've probably already seen the end of the repotting because I think that was only like half an hour or something like that. But so I repotted the Venus flytrap. It has done great. It is flowering right now. It's right in front of me. And the flowers are beautiful. I've been posting them on my Snapchat story. Some people seem to love it, but I'm sure for every person that like messages me about how awesome and pretty it is, there's 10 more that think it's so annoying having to see a picture of it every day. So I filmed that, a nice long video just to put in the background of this. And then I set up the camera and I filmed out through the window because it was the first time it was snowing. And this was back before I published the first episodes. This was back at the very beginning of November, maybe even late October. I think it was late October, honestly. That's pretty crazy.
That is pretty crazy. That's early, especially considering we still don't have... Right now, there's no snow on the ground.
Right now, there's no snow. Today is November 15th. Is that right?
25th.
Yeah. No, November 25th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today is Sunday, November 25th. It's 8:45 p.m. By the way. That's a small fact, but
we were actually supposed to get hit with a pretty big snowstorm today, right now. Didn't. But it is just cold and windy.
Yeah, it's very cold and windy.
No precipitation.
You have yet to experience college in the winter.
This is true.
Are you excited?
No.
What do you think it'll be like?
Well, I experienced the cold. I didn't have a winter coat up until after Thanksgiving, so I've just been wearing a sweatshirt. And there have been days when it's like, when I get up for my 8 a.m. Landscape design class, and it's like...
That class is at 8 a.m.?
Yeah, they only offer it one time, and it was at 8 a.m. And I said, I want to get a horticulture minor, so I'm taking this class no matter what.
Nobody else would do that. Nobody else would be like, yeah, I'll take this class that doesn't apply to my major at 8 a.m. Sounds great.
Yeah, well, it's not that bad.
No, it sounds like a fun class.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll talk about that in a sec. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Walking to that class, there have been some chilly days.
Oh, yeah.
Where I have just been miserable. And I sit in class, and the cold just doesn't go away. It's a 2-hour-long class. Takes like an hour and a half for me to stop feeling cold.
Yeah. How much do hand warmers cost? I'm going to Google that while you're talking.
Oh, yeah, you do that. Anyways, and the cold has just been awful. I haven't had any experience with like snow clogging up the pathways or anything. Wow. But you advised me to look out for worm cuts, as they're called, which are like shortcuts, but they're typically longer, but they're warm. And I have mapped out from my chem discussion, my chem recitation, almost all the way back to my dorm. I can take 90% of it inside. Takes me through some cool buildings. It's pretty neat. That's a major key that I can't take credit for because you told me at the beginning of the year. You told me and I was like, that's dumb.
Oh, great idea, isn't it?
Yeah. I was like...
When you're walking on campus, it's like... It's agony. And even if it's like a slightly longer distance to go inside and cut through a building, totally worth it to not be freezing to death. Totally worth it. Because it's agony. Your face hurts. You get covered in snow. You get wet. And then here's what I think is the worst part about college in the winter at Iowa State here. When you come into these huge lecture halls and everybody is like twice the volume they normally are because they have these huge ass winter coats on, and then they got to take them off and they got to find some place to stuff them in these tiny ass little, like everybody just has a chair and like a tiny desk and they're all sitting next to each other. Like some of these lectures are like hundreds of kids. And now they all have these huge coats. Now there's twice as much like mass coming into this room. So it's crowded, it's stuffy. Now all of a sudden, if you didn't like if you're a dumbass freshman, I'm warning you now so you don't make this mistake, and you wore like a long sleeve thermal shirt underneath your coat or something that you just can't take off, layers is key. Then you're sweating inside, you're fine outside, but you're super hot inside. The key is layers. You can take off your coat, take off your sweater, and then you just got a nice t-shirt on. You're nice inside because they overheat sometimes. Some of the lecture halls are like uncomfortably hot. Even in a t-shirt and shorts, you'll be too hot in some lecture halls.
This is true.
But that is still not even the worst part. We're getting there. But so here's what I think the worst part is. The runny noses and the coughing. Now, I know this sounds like I'm kind of whinging. I'm kind of making a big deal. I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. I'm crying over a paper cut.
Whoa. Paper cuts hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know if
runny
you ever got a
noses
bad
are
one.
fucking annoying.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. Because you're sitting here and it's like you're in this fucking echo chamber of the kid next to you is like, sorry to disrespect your ear by mimicking him, by doing my impression of this fucking kid.
See, I almost did the same thing when I was talking about my roommate chewing. I almost mocked him. But
yeah, that was my bad. Sorry, dear listener. But God, is it annoying. And then on the other side, then it's you. You're the one with the runny nose, and you're just and you're like trying to wipe it. You like got a couple Kleenexes, but never enough, and you're just runny nose, and everyone's gross, and everyone's coughing. Everyone gets sick at some point or another because we're all just crammed in here. Oh God, it's awful. It's like a breeding ground for fucking awful things. It's not ideal. I'm not a big fan. But yeah, so that's in your future.
Joy. Luckily, I only have 2 weeks of classes left. Then we got a week of finals, and then...
Oh yeah, true. Because we're gonna be in Manchester for most of the winter.
Yeah.
So you won't really. Well, I don't know how Manchester's winters will be, but or like how far we'll have to be outside.
Probably be pretty similar.
I mean, they'll be the same, but I'm just saying, like, are we gonna have to walk miles outside?
Oh yeah. That'd be less than ideal.
Yeah. And then here I'm ready to be done talking about that. If you are,
I'm fully ready to be done with that.
Okay, so here my next bullet point I had that I wanted to talk about. I always like to try and throw in something that's relevant to the present moment, maybe like politically, more specifically. And let me write the timestamp here. So right now we're around 52 minutes in. So the two notes I had that just immediately came to my mind. I did not put a lot of thought into these two. These were just when I thought politics, currently world politics. These are the two that came into my mind. Khashoggi, the journalist who had been killed in Saudi Arabia, they chopped him up into little pieces and tossed him in a box and got him out of there. Initially, Saudi Arabia was denying everything. They were like, we have nothing to do with this. And then Turkey, I believe it was, had cameras hidden, so you see this guy getting chopped up and put in a box. I saw a picture of it. It was pretty. There's like some dudes just holding like his hand, and there's blood fucking everywhere. It's pretty bad. But notably, Donald Trump, our current president, was like doubling down on it. Like he was pretending. He's like, nah, they didn't do it. And then everything's pointing that they did it. And then he's like, nah, but the crown prince didn't know about it. Like he didn't know.
Then it came out, CIA. The news headline I read was, CIA report says, whatever, the crown prince directly ordered killing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I mean, I think there's a danger to taking, for taking a headline and like assuming so much from it. But yeah, it seems very strongly that he did it. He knew it. And it does make sense that he would do that because this guy was writing a lot. He was talking shit about Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it was very interesting because the statement Donald Trump put out literally says in it, maybe he did it and maybe he didn't. There will probably never be enough information. As like all the intelligence agencies are saying like, yeah, we're pretty sure he did it.
Yeah.
But
I know Trump does have some like financial ties with them. If you look into some of his own like past statements, I'm pretty sure there was a tweet. I I'm obviously not going to try and find it right now, but there's like a tweet where he like is tweeting about the royalty of Saudi Arabia coming to his hotels and spending like millions
Yeah,
and millions of
buying
dollars.
condos. He said that
Oh
at
yeah,
a
he
at a,
sold them condos.
at
That's
a
right.
rally. He's like, they love me. They come and they buy condos, and I sell them condos, and they love me. Something like that.
Yeah, and now he's denying like any
Yeah.
relation.
He did bring up an interesting point because we have like an arms deal with Saudi Arabia where we're selling them like $1.6 billion worth of like military supplies, essentially, like jets and guns and whatever.
Yeah.
And he brought up the interesting point, Donald Trump, of saying like, well, I can't really back out of this deal because otherwise I'm just leaving it for Russia or China.
Okay.
Which poses an interesting point to me. Like I get like that makes sense to me on one hand. Like China and Russia are kind of our rivals. We can't just like let them have all of like the economic opportunities in the world.
Yeah.
But also it seems very like morally indecent to me to like sell the Crown Prince super high-tech military supplies after he just demonstrated that like this guy was a Saudi Arabian citizen. Like he was just a resident of the United States. Like he lived here, but he was still a Saudi citizen. And they just like murdered him.
Yeah,
and now
pretty
we're giving
brutally.
now we're giving him like
in an embassy.
Yeah, in like a essentially Saudi sanctuary, in Turkey. Where like if you're Saudi, like the U.S. embassies, if you're somewhere and you're in trouble, you go to the embassy, right? And now he's gonna have like $1 billion worth of our guns, and our jets and our explosives. That doesn't sit too well with me personally, but
yeah, dude's a bastard. I shouldn't say that. But yeah, so that was a problem. And then the second thing I had on my political, they cut him up. That is so crazy. The second thing I had on my political little thing, I only had two. It was a short list. Was China's social credit program. Do you know anything about that?
I can't say I do.
Yeah, I have been kind of like reading about it off and on because you'll see articles on Reddit every now and then for the past like year or two, I think. But it's implemented now. I think. There's a headline here that says they plan on implementing it on all the China plans to rank all of its citizens based on their social credit by 2020.
Social credit.
Yeah. So what it is like here, and I think most places you have a credit score, which is like tells lenders how likely you are to be somebody who's a good person to loan to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making a little note here. But in China, what they're instituting now is a social credit. So, if you're like the idea of it, here's the pitch that's like, assuming everything goes well, is like, well, we want it to be easier, more efficient, harder to cheat. Like, oh, somebody robbed a bank, their social credit score goes down, now they can't buy a gun or whatever, or I don't know if you can even buy a gun in China, but that's like the idea. Like somebody's a bad dude, they can't do this. Okay, like maybe this guy is such a bad dude. Like he literally he's always fucking up. He's like always like he's not got a job. Maybe he like posts videos preaching anarchy or whatever, or he talks shit about the politicians. Now he can't have a car. He can't have a driver's license. And the most notably to me was that like you can't leave the country, or like I think there are. I have an article up right here because I was planning on talking about it, but I like realized I didn't really know enough to take like a hard stance on it. Although I do think it's a bad idea. I will take a hard stance on it. I think it's a bad idea because of how much it could be abused. Because think about it in the worst case scenario. Think about it in like in America right now. Say you're somebody speaking out against Donald Trump, and he has the power to lower your social credit score or something like that, and now all of a sudden you don't have access to the internet. Like, it's illegal for you to be on the internet.
Yeah,
Just think about that. And obviously that's a very extreme case, but I think it's important to think about the extremes when it's coming to like political philosophy, because the extremes often do happen. Like, systems are tested over time. And
I'm assuming I know for a fact you've seen Black Mirror.
yeah, of
The
course.
TV show where they highlight like the dangers of technology, essentially.
The one where you can rate people out of like 5 stars.
Yeah, there's essentially an episode where social credit is a thing, where like you interact with people, and based on your interactions, you give them a star rating. And the star rating doesn't just like, it's not just like right now you go on Instagram and you see, oh, so and so has 1,000 followers, they're pretty cool. It's like you can't live in certain neighborhoods if you don't have a social ranking of something.
Yeah.
And it's about like this girl's journey to like try and get a higher social credit ranking.
And then just everything goes wrong.
And everything goes wrong, and she ends up with a super low one.
Yeah.
And her life's just like irreparably
very interesting episode. But I think the big difference between that episode and what China's doing is that it's enforced by the government.
And it's not people.
Yeah, whereas in that Black Mirror episode, it's sort of more enforced socially. Like, if I was like a 1-star person, a lot of people wouldn't want to hang out with me. Whereas if I'm like a 1-star person in China, I can't own a cell phone or something. I don't know what all the rules are though. But here I have. So it says here that the exact methodology is a secret, just kind of similar to how we do our credit scores for like finances. It says examples of infractions include, bad driving, smoking in non-smoking zones, buying too many video games, and posting fake news online. Wow. Like, that sounds great. We don't want people being bad drivers. We don't want people like speeding, and we don't want people smoking inside or where it's against the law. Who gives a fuck how many video games people are playing, I guess, and we definitely don't want people posting fake news. That all sounds like we want to incentivize against that. But now I'll get into some of the consequences here. So if your score is lower, you can be banned from flying or getting on the train. Wow, right off the bat, that's the first one. That sounds pretty bad. They can clamp down on luxury options, so you couldn't fly first class anymore or something like that. They can throttle your internet speeds, so your internet can become much slower or maybe even non-existent. Excuse me. And it even says here that your social credit score can be lowered by wasting money on frivolous purchases or posting inappropriate things on social media.
So essentially, it seems like it's censorship. Like, you can't do.
Exactly. That's how it would be abused, right? It could be used as censorship. Another punishment would be banning you or your children from the best schools. That's pretty bad. It's almost sounding like not like racism, but like classism, like how there's sort of like a segregation between the upper and lower classes, with the government having the power to push people where they want them. Sounds like something that could be extremely easy to abuse. And then here's another punishment: stopping you from getting the best jobs. So if you break trust with the government, you could be banned from doing management jobs in state-owned firms and big banks. Let's see. They can keep you out of the best hotels. They can take your dog away. Wow. I should cite the source on this, because this is starting to get like almost unbelievable. The source on this is Business Insider.
Ooh, that's
trustworthy. That's pretty trustworthy. Getting your dog taken away. Think about that. You tweet. Imagine Imagine you tweet like, LOL, Trump has a tiny penis. And then all of a sudden, ding dong, we're here to take your puppy.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's...
Yeah. So you can get your dog. Oh, they already enforced this. They started this in 2017.
Wait, like the entire social credit system?
Well, the dog part specifically. You get points deducted if the dog is walked without a leash or it causes public disturbances. So you're not like disciplining it well enough to keep it from like barking or like chasing other people or biting or whatever. That's crazy. It says here, those who lost all their points had their dogs confiscated and had to take a test on regulations required for pet ownership. Yikes. You could be publicly named as a bad citizen. Let me see. I think that's all that's on this list.
So just picture this. You tweet a picture of Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Which is like in China, it's kind of like a mockery, making a mockery of their supreme leader or whatever president. I'm pretty sure his title is like president.
Zhao Zedong or something. I'll just look it up.
Yeah, good thing. We don't want to inflame anything here. But you tweet a picture
of Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, if you tweet Winnie the Pooh, a picture of Winnie the Pooh, you get your dog taken away, you can't fly, you can't get on the internet, you are publicly named a bad citizen. All of that for tweeting something mildly demeaning about the... What's his title? Is it president or is it...
Yeah, it's president.
It's president, but essentially dictator.
Mm-hmm.
Which is... That's nuts.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like there are some things China's doing right now, well over the past like decade, that I think is like huge. Like they're really opening up like a big trade route. Like they've been doing a lot of stuff and getting like ports, like massive ports, massive infrastructure built. Like I think even massive train tracks all over Asia and almost all the way to Europe, I think. And that's insane. Like stuff like that really cuts like the deadweight loss on the economy of like the world, honestly, with China being the main benefactor. But then there's stuff like the social credit program, and that is just, it seems like a darker side to the coin.
Yeah.
So yeah. But you got anything else on that subject?
No, I think
okay.
I think I'm pretty good.
Yeah, crazy stuff. And very interesting to think about. I wish I had thought more about that topic before recording the podcast, so I could have come on with harder stances that could potentially be debated. So the next subject I had that I wanted to talk about, and this is like the final like kind of bigger subject. So our podcast, luckily we have been doing a far better job. I don't think I'm going to edit any of it out, even the jerking off part. I'll leave that in there.
Oh, joy.
Yep. I want everyone to hear about that.
I don't know if I was hoping for it to get edited out or want to stay in, you know?
I had no hope either way, even though I'm the person doing it, because on one hand, it's like, fuck, we're talking about jerking off. On the other hand, limbic system engagement.
Also, episode -5. If you like this podcast compared to the first one, let us know. We'll keep it in mind going forward.
Yeah, even if you want to be a dick about it, but like still, you know, have us not dislike you, just comment episode -6 sucked on this video on episode -5, and we'll know that we're improving. So that would be a nice thing to say, even though it sounds dickish.
Yeah.
All right. So the final, like, slightly big topic I wanted to talk about was something I saw in a YouTube video this morning. I think it was from Kyrgyzstan or whatever, that German, I think, YouTube channel. It's from somewhere in Europe.
It goes by In a Nutshell.
Yeah, they go by In a Nutshell. So if you want to find them, just Google YouTube in a nutshell. Great videos. Some of my favorites, honestly, of all time. They pump out like one video a month, and they're like 5 minutes long, very well animated, very well researched, very well made. Wonderful. And they cover such interesting topics. And the one this morning was about humans accidentally building a trap that would prevent us from leaving Earth or ever utilizing space.
It's deep. That's some heavy stuff.
Yeah, it's like, well, what does that mean? So I watched the video. I'm like, kind of like, this sounds like a stretch, but it is totally that. It was like a clickbait title that was not actually like lying.
Us in this episode.
Yeah. Do you have any guess as to what it could be? This trap we're accidentally making around ourselves?
When you say around ourselves, I know that there's a lot of space junk. Pieces of satellites, excess pieces of rockets to float off.
Yeah.
Orbiting Earth, and I've actually thought about that quite a bit. Of like,
like Wall-E.
Yeah, because they go fast. If they're in orbit, they have to be moving very fast.
And velocities are all relative, right? So if two of them are going fast as fuck, but they're going in opposite directions, and they hit, now all of a sudden their velocities are like added on top of each other, and it would be as if one of them was stationary and the other one was going twice as fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And that's
is that what it is?
That's exactly what it is. Because right now we're still sort of dipping our toe into space as a species. We're not like fully masters at. We're not even close to being apprentices. We're just starting it. But already we've had stuff like clutter our atmosphere. Already we have satellites that are destroyed in orbit. But what they predicted is actually extremely alarming. So obviously we're going to keep putting stuff up, right? Every time we shoot a rocket into orbit, or any country, anybody shoots anything into space, you got your booster cells that fall back down to Earth. Except for they don't. Sometimes they get stuck in orbit and they just go around and around. But space, excuse me, my God, Spears got me hiccuping. Space is so big, right, that it's not a huge deal if we got a couple things floating around, even if we have hundreds of things floating around. But the problem is, it's not just a few things anymore. And when things break down, even to the size of like a quarter, bigger, most likely bigger than a quarter, but at these speeds, even like a quarter, if it hit, like say your car's in space for some reason, if it got hit by a quarter traveling, like I'm talking like 25-cent coin, traveling at these speeds, your car's gone. Your car's exploded. The amount of energy like in that collision is so enormous that it would just cut through almost anything, even like a satellite designed to be robust could be devastated by just random little tiny particles. But the problem is, when something is hit, say a satellite's hit and it explodes, it's not gone. All of a sudden, it is now also space debris flying around Earth. So what this YouTube video, in a nutshell, predicted was that we'd keep sending stuff up, obviously satellites for, cell service or military research or collecting data or mapping or whatever. And it would start like a chain reaction. Like one of them would get hit, and then all of a sudden we have, because it would be exponential, obviously. You can quickly see, like, it might start off slow, but eventually the whole, like, our planet is surrounded by extremely fast, like, almost
bullets.
like bombs.
We just have like
bullets.
a bullet wall.
Yeah. They're just circling. And they would circle for hundreds of years before they would fall back down, or they'd get low enough that the air resistance would slow them down and they'd drop down, or they'd burn up. It would take hundreds of years. It's almost as big of a deal, excuse me, as like polluting an ocean. Like polluting outer space really does cause a lot of big issues in terms of pushing out into space.
So essentially, it's like in like the 1920s, there was a lot of pollution going on, and everyone said, like, "Oh, this isn't going to be an issue. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't gonna affect anything."
Yeah.
And like now, I don't know if you saw like some government agencies just put out a research paper saying like climate change is here. It's like we need to make a priority now, otherwise we could never be able to like go back.
Yeah.
Essentially, it just like an article. They just released like 1,000-page paper or something like that.
Yeah.
But we could be in like the 1920s stage
Of
without a space. Like right
fucking up
now, we're
our
like we keep launching stuff
Yeah.
up. Everything's great. We just discovered oil. We can make cars move with it.
Yeah.
Everything's going fine.
Yeah.
Except for like
Yeah.
in 100 years or whatever, there could be like space advocates saying like we need to stop this, and people like our age could be like,
Mm-hmm.
no, this has never been a problem. It won't ever be a problem.
Yeah.
Kind of like the global warming
And
deniers are.
and I thought about it, and my initial thoughts were, yeah, it sounds scary, but don't you think we'd be able to design around this? Like maybe we start making our spacecrafts uh, more robust, or maybe they can have like a radar that can detect collisions early on and then sort of like turn the spacecraft a little bit so it hits at an angle and bounces off and doesn't do as much damage. But I don't know, or maybe even magnets, like an extremely strong magnet that repels things, which, if you know anything about magnets, would not work, really. I don't think. It would have to be insanely strong, and require so much energy that it would not be really feasible. And so then I thought maybe the best idea, and they do talk about this a little bit in the video, but there's a company, I think, trying to start something like this. It's not doing too well that I know of, but that's because nobody's afraid yet. That is like a space cleanup
Just
type
like
thing.
launch like a net that just traps it all and makes it fall back to Earth.
Yeah, that was one of the ideas, was like a net. Like a little robot fisherman that goes up and catches the random shit. But on the scale of this, with like hundreds of thousands of like little things floating around, that seems a bit tough. Plus, what is there to stop our little fishermen from just being turned into space junk themselves as they're floating around? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then, of course, you could also use magnetic space fishermen, which, to be honest, doesn't sound like a terrible idea to me. If you put up like just a couple. Oh, now I'm sort of thinking of something new in my head as I'm speaking. So say you put up like a little something or other that attracts metal. It's super magnetic, and over time it clumps together, and then you take that thing out as a composite of like hundreds of little particles, nuts and bolts and whatnot, all combined.
I mean, you wouldn't even need to take it out per se. Like if you could condense all the space dust into 5 giant orbiting bodies,
Yeah,
you could just avoid them.
and it wouldn't be big. It's not like it would make like a meteor that would fall to Earth and destroy us. If like we haven't sent enough stuff into space to even make a meteor capable of like freaking people out. Like at most, it would make like a light streak through the sky as it burnt up. We just have not sent that much stuff into space. It's not like it would like fall to Earth and cause like a crater or like an energy shock.
Right.
That wouldn't happen. But yeah, I thought that was a very interesting thing, sort of a looming problem in the future. And you know what? If people listen to this podcast a couple 100 years from now, unlikely, but if they do, and they hear us talking about this, we're going to be hailed as extreme forward thinkers.
Make sure if you're 200 years from now, if you're listening to this and we're right, just put it in the comments down below.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Please, assuming you guys still have fingers and that hasn't like evolved away. I was weird side note. My thumb kind of aches sometimes, like in the joint, my right hand thumb, and I can't think of any reason for it to be that way other than just how much of the day it's spent curled over. Like if I'm playing an Xbox or if I'm holding my phone, if I'm texting anything, my thumb is like bent over, and I think that's kind of like not terribly like natural for it. Like it wasn't really designed to be bent like this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's something that like will be different down the line through like evolution. Like maybe like 100 generations down the line, everyone will have like better thumbs for texting. You know?
That's weird thing. Like if you look at my pinky right here, my pinky's got this like dip in it right here.
Yes. No. Yeah.
From like
Mine doesn't so much, but I know what you're talking.
Because
about.
this is how I hold it. My phone
So
sits
many people
on my
have that.
pinky that I have a essentially dent right between my first like joint and my second joint on it where my phone sits, and
so many people have that. Like I remember when I first like noticed that, I like asked so many people and everybody had it. You know another one?
What?
Look at your thumb. Look at like your thumb prints. Do you see like the butt crack creases on? Do you have them?
Wait, what are we talking about here?
Like see how you have like creases right there, like halfway through your thumb. Sort of like how you have like the creases where your thumbs bend. Do you kind of have like little tiny creases there?
Yeah.
Like lines across the surface of your thumb pad. I only have it on my left hand. I don't have any on my right. But that totally comes from like texting when your thumbs are just curled like this so much that you actually develop like lines there. Just like you do. Because like a baby's hand doesn't have these creases at the joints of like their knuckles or like on their fingers or anywhere on their hand. They don't have that. Those are developed from use.
That's wild.
Isn't that wild? And on my left thumb, you can see... You kind of see them?
Yeah.
I have them on my thumb. And these aren't even that bad. Some of the... I think Kaylee's are real bad.
Is she a texting machine?
Just on her phone, probably more than normal. But I guess I shouldn't say more than normal, just like around normal. Because people are on their phones so damn much. But yeah, any other thoughts on the trap around the world? Humans trap.
Do you think it's an issue that we should start looking at right now? Or should we just kind of say...
I think it's an issue that we should... That's tough to say. I think it's an issue that we should think about now, but I think more importantly, we should...
Focus on cleaning up like the messes that are messes now.
Well, we got a lot of resources, and we got a lot of people. I don't think it's unfair to expect us to solve more than one problem at a time.
Right.
I think it'd be wiser and more efficient just to try and take steps to prevent it from being a problem in the first place, like maybe designing those more robust things, or maybe designing expecting failure, so things that
you
if
don't
they do
put
get
more particles out there.
Yeah, so if something does get hit and breaks, it might break in a better and easier to clean up way. I really don't know enough about it to say exactly what I think it should be, but those are just the off the top of my head answers. I do think it is like an issue that should be thought about at the very least, like taken into consideration when sending more shit into space. And it is another thing that affects the whole planet, just like global warming, like polluting the atmosphere. So I do think it's something that should be discussed on a global platform, like the Paris Accords, when we pulled in all these countries and agreed to try to reduce greenhouse emissions.
Right.
Yeah, so I would say, yeah, I think it's something we should at least think about. Well, that is the end of the big topics I had. Is there anything you would particularly like to toss in?
I was actually just thinking about when we went over the current events thing. Have you looked into Matthew Whitaker at all, the acting attorney general?
Oh my God! Because Jeff Sessions got fired.
Yeah.
Well, forced out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, Whitaker's in there. I don't know much about it. All I know is what I've read in, like, headlines and then I've read, like, a little bit about it. I wouldn't say I know enough. I know that my gut feeling from the random shit I've read, which might have been extremely biased, is that it's a pretty bad thing. Like, it seems extremely clear that he's trying to... cover his ass
and stop like the investigation.
Yeah, and like shut down Mueller, and I think if the Democrats hadn't won the House back, I think he might have done it. I think he had been kind of waiting for that, and if he had absolute power, or the Republican power had absolute power, I think he might have shut it down. Maybe.
I agree, but that's not actually what I wanted to talk about.
Oh, okay.
He has kind of a funny historic background.
Oh,
Are you aware of like any of the companies that he used to work for?
no, I don't think so.
Well, he worked for a company. He was like a chairman on the board of a company that has a patent for a hyper masculine toilet for men.
Hyper masculine toilet. Anytime
Yes,
I hear hyper masculine, I know that's a bit of a red flag.
right. No, the idea is super well hung men will end up dipping their tip in the toilet.
You want to know something weird?
I don't we don't I know I don't want to know anything weird.
It happened to me once. It's happened to me a few times. If I'm taking a dump and the water levels are too high, extremely rarely, maybe less than 5 times, but it's happened to me.
Good to know. Anyways, that's I like you just casually snuck that in there. You know, earlier we talked about jerking off, and you're like, "Oh, well hung men." Well,
Limbic system engagement. Let's get the people in it. I want to see a comment that says, Forrest, there's no way your dick dipped into the toilet. I want to see that comment. I want to see it. I won't even defend it, because if there's anything that says I have a tiny penis, it's people who defend their claims of having a large penis. Sorry, that was a tangent.
That was a tangent. Anyways, that was a company he worked for. Was like one with a water level in the toilet. Like the toilet's like higher and the water level's lower, so that doesn't happen. It's not like a oh man, that guy shouldn't.
He's really got something to prove.
It's like that's not one of the that's not something that I'd look at and be like, oh well, he shouldn't be acting attorney general. Like he was in that. It's just something that I think's kind of funny.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah, another company that he was aboard on. He was aboard on a company, and I watched like the advertisement video, and it was a time machine. He tried to pitch a time machine. Well, I don't want to say he tried to pitch a time machine, but he was like a part of the company that tried to pitch a time machine to like on like a crowdfunding website thing, and they actually raised like, I don't want to give out an exact number, but I'm pretty sure it was in the thousands
for a time machine. Okay,
like what? This guy's our attorney general now.
Well, it says here that these inventions were part of like a scam patenting thing.
Yeah, like a patent company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Along with some hot tub that did something or other. I didn't fully read into that one. Hey. Are you taking? Do you have it pulled up right now?
I'm kind of looking through some web pages. I'm trying to find anything that seems like at least not extremely like blatantly biased right off the bat.
I will admit I did read it from a very biased source.
What source was that?
I want to say it was Vox. No,
Vox honestly isn't that. It was like they definitely like lean left, but they don't like.
It was the one with the. I watched the YouTube video on it, and it was the reporter that's very gay. It's either Vox or is it
I know
Wired,
who you're talking about.
Or
no, I think the kind of like half is like maybe a little bit Hispanic with big like stuff in his ears.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I like him, but I think I would like him in real life, but I think some of his messages are just too biased.
Yeah,
he'll just sneak in little comments.
His biased. I watched a video where he did say like, it's probably kind of like you probably think like, oh, this guy's criticizing the Conservative Party. This guy's gay. He's
a soy boy.
Yeah,
he called himself. He's like, you probably think I'm a soy boy libtard like cuck or something.
Yeah, something like that. Well, like he points out like this is not like I am biased, but it's like it was like kind of video on like how the Conservative Party is becoming more conservative or something like that.
Yeah, I think I might have seen the same one.
But he also put up a video of like Matthew Whitaker's previous business dealings, and I just thought they were so funny.
I might need to watch that.
It was, I couldn't believe it. Like I was like, there's no way that like these are actually real.
Yeah.
Which I mean, in the news environment now, you can never like trust everything. Like he might have donated to one of those companies or something, and people are saying he's in it. That could be true. I don't know. I didn't do like in-depth research on it. I just thought it was something that was kind of funny. That's our. He holds a pretty high up place in our government right now.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And also, I think a little side note, but a personal opinion. I think if Trump is going to shut down Mueller, I don't think he'll do it in like a hammer coming down type thing. I think he'll do it in more of like a bleed him out, like cut his funding and sort of like let it bleed out into oblivion, or try and discredit him, which has already happened. Because some girls from his past had been contacted, trying to get them to lie about being sexually assaulted by him.
Really?
So
by Mueller?
By Mueller, yep. And one of the first people to get contacted came out and like came clean basically and said, like, this is happening, like this is pretty bad. And then they like traced it back to some, I don't know, it went through a couple layers, but anyways, I don't want to get into that. I did have some stuff put down on the previous show notes that we wanted to bring up every episode. How's Kelk going for you?
Oh, yeah, I kind of forgot about that. Kelk's actually going pretty stellar. I'm pretty sure last time we recorded this, I was right before my first exam.
Yeah.
Right after my first exam?
Yeah, I think it was right after.
It might, yeah. And like the average was like 51% or something. And I did okay on that one. I made some very stupid mistakes that I was frustrated about because of the stuff I knew. The last exam, I hit it out of the park, and it was very stellar because nobody else did. The average on it was 46%.
Nice.
And I got a grade that I would have been pretty psyched to get even in high school.
Like a 90?
Yeah, I think I got a 92, 93. Like something I'd be like, hey, that's pretty good in high school.
Nothing like taking Calc 1 when you've already taken Calc 1, 2, 3, and differential equations.
It is not as easy as I thought it would be.
No, it's definitely still tough.
They throw some curveballs that you really have to...
Yeah. I'm interested to see if you notice any material in this class or any of the future math classes that was not covered in high school. Because I remember taking AP Calc in high school and then taking it here at Iowa State again. And there was stuff that we did not talk about in high school.
There were definitely things that we talked about in Calc 3 that are brought up now.
Yeah.
But for the record, after taking this, I've realized like I know this stuff. Like I can do this stuff in problems. I don't need to know like the extremely nitty gritty pieces of it.
Yeah, like the antiderivative of the inverse tangent or something.
Yeah, like that's the kind of stuff that like
you Google.
Yeah, like Google. Like if I get into a situation
where
I need to know that, like I can do that stuff. Like I know how to solve problems using calc, and learning through all the calcs again is not gonna make it so I can.
So you're not even going to take any more math classes?
I might take differential equations again.
Okay.
But I'm not going to go through Calc 2 and Calc 3 again, especially because with Rockwell I'm going to be
missing a semester.
Yeah, missing a semester already.
That's fair.
And
if you're confident, I'm sure you'll be fine. Right now I'm in fluid dynamics, which is one where they swear you're going to have to use a ton of math. And we do use a ton of math, but the calc-based stuff that we do, I can always like figure out, even if I don't even remember what we learned 2 years ago.
That's like another thing, like because I know that like I know how to do all this stuff. The most I need is just a refresher.
Yeah.
So I was thinking next semester, when we're at Rockwell, I might try to go through like all of Calc 2, all of Calc 3 on Khan Academy.
That would be a great use of time. I would do the same thing, honestly. I would do it with you if you wanted.
Yeah, we should. We can talk about that later and maybe give a more solid answer if that's something that we're super interested in.
I honestly think it's a great idea to go through Khan Academy courses because you can go through them at your own pace, and I do feel like you actually learn a lot because they make you take those quizzes and stuff before you can move on to new subjects
Yeah,
to show
and the guy's a
mastery.
good teacher.
The
Compared to,
guy
like,
is a
the
great
teachers I
teacher.
have
His
now.
philosophies are amazing.
Yeah. So that's what I think I'm gonna do, just to like refresh it, because I don't need to. I know the stuff. If I get a refresher on it, I'll be fine, and it's not worth like risking my GPA, because I know like in Calc 1 there's 6 problems on a quiz.
Oh, you'll get an A in Calc 1, no problem.
Oh no, I know. But like there have been times like on the last quiz, I got a 90% where I got every single point on every single problem until the very last one, and I got like only like 30 or 40% of the last one. Because there was just some hiccup in my head where I couldn't put the pieces I need together. And
Yeah.
I for some reason, I just couldn't end up figuring out that one problem. And if I swear, like if they 9 out of the 10 problems they could have asked me on that subject, I would have been totally fine on.
Mm-hmm.
But they just asked me that one that I don't know what it was. I couldn't put the pieces together. And it took my grade down like 8%, 9%.
Isn't that insane?
That's nuts. But that's like, if I get like an unlucky draw in like any of my math, like if I took Calc 2 and Calc 3 and I get an unlucky draw, I could end up tanking my GPA. Not tanking it, but not helping it like I should retaking a class.
On the flip side, I would say you are very likely to get A's. And think about how solid of a GPA it would be to have a 4.0 out of like 15 credits of math.
Yeah.
And you would probably be one of the best mathematicians. Like, I know a ton of kids in my classes right now in upper level mechanical engineering that do not know how to do math. They know it better than obviously the average person, but as far as like an engineering, like comparing them to other engineers, they don't. They're nothing too special.
But see, one of the problems is taking Calc 1 again. I know that I know the stuff, and it just makes me fucking lazy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'll be like, oh, like I know how to do these topics. Like, I don't necessarily need to study as much because I know how to do the stuff. If I just focus on the test, I can put the pieces together and do it. And that's worked fine so far. I have like a 93% in the class or something like that, which is still kind of low for me.
Toot toot.
Well, yeah, not to toot my own horn or anything, but
no, that's fair.
Toot toot. I mean, to be honest, I don't feel like that's an achievement. I feel like it would be sad if I was
it would
doing
be,
anything
yeah.
worse.
If you weren't getting an A in this class, you would be a dumbass.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't be necessarily a dumbass. I would just assume you were having a lot more fun that I don't know about.
Yeah.
Because based on what you do that like I know about, there's no reason you shouldn't be getting an A.
Well, that hurts. That you just that's a very casual way of saying like, hey Mason, you're a fucking loser.
Well, I'm not saying you're a loser. I'm just saying I haven't heard of you. I'm trying to think because I really don't. So far, I've made it so far. I haven't had to edit out a single minute of this podcast. So I'm trying to think of like a way to say this without like. I haven't. Have you gone to any parties that I wasn't there for?
Yeah, I have.
Really?
I'm trying not to sound too surprised.
I'm not. No, I'm not surprised. How were they?
It was very enjoyable.
Where? When? What?
I was hanging out with Caitlin.
We probably shouldn't say her last name.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Fuck it, I'm not editing it out. It's in there. We doxed her to our one viewer that will make it this
okay,
far.
we'll just come on and say it. Caitlin Veitlin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I hadn't doxed her, you doxed her.
Yeah, no, I just doxed her.
Now everyone knows a girl's name. She's fucked.
Anyways.
The internet's not what it used to be, that's for sure. My YouTube channel name is Forrest Berg with a picture of me. Like, remember how bad that used to be?
Yeah, used to have to hide behind the Pope.
Yeah.
Until you straight up had to email an employer, and that was what you were.
Oh God, that was bad.
That's a story for another time. Anyway, I found that I really enjoy going to like parties with 20 to 25 people in like people's apartments or people's houses. I found myself in a frat basement one time.
Which frat?
As you're driving in, like the street that goes right in front of Elena's and yours, it's the very first one on the right next to the big parking lot, like Lambda.
Oh, Lambda Chi. I shouldn't talk shit about other frats.
Dude,
How was it?
you got it. You got to get that whatever effect. You got to engage the emotions, talk some shit. Anyway, it was not enjoyable.
Lambda Chi has a reputation of just being like they just like bone each other. Like they have like a reputation of being like super gay, like a gay house.
Oh, well, good for them. I'm glad they're happy.
Yeah,
But I did not enjoy. I spent maybe 20 seconds in there, and I was like, "This sucks."
yeah,
It was not enjoyable.
yeah. Well, the big annoying thing there is there's like half the population of this party knows each other and does not want other guys there.
That could be.
That's like the annoying part, and you don't know any of them.
I mean, I just wasn't. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood to be.
How did you end up there?
I just followed Caitlin and her group around.
Yikes!
And
yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah,
I'm sorry you had to endure that. I have had to endure too many frat parties, and I don't think that they are a good time for anybody most of the time.
Yeah, I ended up just leaving and calling going.
Oh, just on the sidewalk? You just talking?
No, I actually, it was kind of funny. I was walking around, and I don't want to be like it was like Halloween, right? It was like the weekend before Halloween.
Halloween was a fun weekend.
Well, it was okay. Anyways.
Well, yeah, you went to a frat party. Yikes.
I know. Yeah, it was yikes. But I walked outside and I stood in like the parking garage that's right next to it, and I called Rowan, and I felt kind of creepy, like because all these like chicks were walking by, like
and you were just standing there.
I was just like standing there, like over off to the side.
What was your costume?
I didn't have a costume.
Well, no wonder you didn't have a fun time.
I didn't realize we were going like to Halloween parties.
It's Halloween.
It wasn't Halloween. It was like 5 days before Halloween.
If you're going to a party, plus or minus 1 week of Halloween, generally it's a safe bet to dress weird.
Yeah, see, I didn't know that, and I was a designated driver, so I was just not having a great time. Found myself on the parking ramp, calling Rowan, feeling creepy, so I walked down the parking ramp. I was just like, I'm going to walk around.
So now you're in the dark under...
And I'm in the dark underground. And then I'm like, I don't want to be down in this dark underground anymore, so I walk a little bit farther outside. And then it starts to rain on me.
Yeah, so, you had a horrible night.
I just walk. I keep wandering around, find myself sitting inside of a church.
Which I bet I know which church you're talking about.
Because I walked up and I was talking to Rio, and I was like, man, these guys' lights are still on. Should I just try to open the door? And she's like, no, don't do that. And whenever Rio says, no, don't do that, I'm just like, well, fuck it, I got to do it. So I just pull on the door, opens right up. There's a bench right inside. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to sit here. And if anyone comes and talks to me, I'll leave,
Nice.
So I sit there and I talk to Rowan. Literally right when she's like, all right, well, I'm going to go to bed. It's like 1 a.m. I was like, okay, good night. I hang up, sit there. I'm like, well, it's still raining outside. What do I do? And this lady walks in and she looks at me and she's like.
At 1 a.m.?
Yeah. She's not like an old lady. She's not even old at all. She's like, looks like she could be like 25.
Okay.
Right. And she walks in. And she goes, is everything okay? And I was like...
Jesus, she probably thought you were like...
I know, she probably thought that I was like ready to just confess all my sins.
Yeah.
I'm like, as just surrounded by like all like the parties, I just like decided I was ready to confess.
I went to a frat party.
But I was like, no, everything's good. And she's like, are you sure? Do you want to talk? And I was like, no, I think I'm good. I'm getting a call from some friends, and I pick up the phone, like step outside, and just like.
Were you actually, or were you faking?
No, I was just like, I don't want to like get in a one-on-one conversation with her, where she's gonna like ask me.
Yeah, she probably thought you were troubled.
Yeah, she probably thought I was troubled. So that was my night. Then I went and got the car because the parking meter was about to expire. So I was gonna go move the car. That was my night. It wasn't very exciting. We actually went to a house party before the frat party, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
that was
really
good time.
A lot more fun. Though, yeah, I mean, the thing with most frat parties in general that I've been to is there's like a party room, and that's where they try and keep most of the random people that come in. And the music is super loud.
Yeah,
There are lights in your face.
It's
like
super
it's
dark,
dark. It's
except
super
for, like,
dark, but
yeah.
these colored lights are on you, and they're all the same. Every frat thinks they're special. They're all the same. And then that area sucks. I hate it. If you're a girl existing down there, you're gonna get your ass grabbed and you're gonna get grinded on. It's just it's not great. I've been down there. It's not great. But the fun part is generally like when you go, like for our house, it was upstairs, and I would always be upstairs because then you're hanging out, the lights are on. There's music and there's loud music in some of the rooms, but you kind of get to choose where you want to be and who you want to be with, and it's much more fun. You can play like games aside from just like beer pong, which is the shittiest game of all time to play for so many reasons. I can list them pretty concisely. First, takes too long. Second, half the time you're spent chasing balls. Third, it's always dark as shit and even if it's not dark as shit, it's hard to find the balls. Fourth, that's it, okay? The only way to win beer pong is to pretend like you're a god at beer pong and just not be fazed by anything else. Beer pong's a shit game. It's great you play it when you feel awkward at a party. That's when you play beer pong. I'm just spitting truths here, okay? That's it. There are great other drinking games, though. Boom Cup's pretty fun. Flippy Cup's pretty fun. We can play these. I can train you.
I played both those this weekend.
Did you?
Yep.
Did you win?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if you win Boom Cup.
Okay. Well,
but I'm undefeated in Flippy Cup. The team of me, Uyoan, and Caleb Vithe, undefeated.
This weekend?
I guess not this weekend.
At Friendsgiving?
Yeah.
I'll count it. But let me just say...
No, that's not that. I went to another party.
You don't have to convince me you're cool.
Okay? I know I'm not cool.
I know you're cool.
My college experience has not been that exciting, I would say. But I went to one with Stuart from the clan. He moved away my freshman year of high school.
Okay.
And he hit me up out of the blue. He's like, "Hey, you want to come to a party tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'm not doing anything else." So I went.
You got to say yes. Got to be a yes man.
I went to him, and it was probably the most enjoyable one I went to because I wasn't really connected to anyone.
Yeah, so you get to just
I knew Stuart, and there was Riley and Logan. There were two kids that were on the swim team with me, and one was in your frat. Not good opinions of them.
Well, I'm pretty sure I remember kicking him out.
Oh, well.
Dude was super creepy to girls.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. He was trying really hard to like set me up with these chicks, even though I expressly told him, I was like, "Hey, dude, I got a girlfriend. Like, I'm 100% content. Like, I'm here just to like hang out with Stuart and meet new people. I'm not trying to like go home with anyone tonight. Like, that's the last thing I want to do right now." And I totally saw that because he was definitely, as soon as he realized like, oh, Mason doesn't want these chicks, he just like took them. Like I said, that sounds really bad. I don't want to say he took them, but like
he started going for them.
Yeah, he started shooting for them.
No, I know what you mean.
Which I don't know, kind of creepy to me. It's all right. He's always been nice to me. I don't know him in that sense. I don't know.
Now we're getting dangerously close to talking shit about people that we know in real life. Or not saying nice things, and I don't want to cross that line.
That's true.
Personally.
Anyway, the point is, I went there, and Stu, the guy from our clan, Clash Clans, not any other kind of clan. I told someone this weekend, or that I met. Okay. I was like, "Man, I'm in a clan," and they're like, "What? You're in the clan?" And I was like,
"Yeah, bitch, I'm co-leader.
I'm a co-leader in the clan." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, Clash of Clans, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, "Did you really think for like even like half second that I was in the Ku Klux Klan?" But I just don't want if even like 1% of the people out there thinks that's what I'm talking about, and we're getting 31 views, that means every 3 videos, one person's probably gonna think I'm in the Klan,
and that's intolerable.
That's intolerable. Anyways, the point is, Clash Clans. Stuart was he was in the clan. He comes up to me like towards the end of this party, and I'm like, I probably better head home. I got to do things tomorrow. He comes up to me, he's like, "Hey, you were pretty fun here. Do you want to come to like other parties with me?
Who said that?
Stu.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, yeah, man. I mean, in the future, if you just want to hit me up, I can't promise I'll come to all of them. But like, if I'm not doing anything, sure. He's like, what about like, the way he phrased it was, I found hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing as I was walking home. He said to me, I know this party that gets pretty wild. And there's like drugs and a lot of alcohol and black people.
Okay.
And I was like, Stuart, what are you saying? Like, why did you have to say like black people? There's black people here at this party. And he's like, oh, no. I was talking like, I'm talking like.
This is getting too goofy.
He's like, there's like gang stuff at this. And I was like, oh, Stuart, you can't just make that assumption. But Stuart's too far gone. He wasn't in nothing I said was going to make Stuart not associate black people with gangs.
What the fuck, Stu?
Yeah, I know. It really took me back. But his brother, who he hangs out with all the time, was also wearing a QAnon shirt. I don't know if you know anything about that, but that's another.
What? Wearing a what shirt?
QAnon. Like the conspiracy theory that like.
Oh,
Donald Trump is set up.
Like QAnon.
Yeah,
I've seen that. I don't know what that is.
It's essentially like a conspiracy theory that like Donald Trump is like the only righteous person in our corrupt government that's going to save us all.
Wait, Stu was wearing that?
No, Stuart's brother was, but Stuart spends a lot of time with his brother, so I'm assuming that they have similar beliefs.
Interesting.
Very interesting. It really made me think less of him, I would say, but some of the people I met there were pretty enjoyable. So not necessarily like Stuart, but people in general that I met weren't awful.
Well, good.
Yeah, no, I guess that's the ending point.
As long as you're not going to your drug gangster party, I think you'll be fine. I think you'll be fine to get an A in calc to wrap up the calc topic.
You're right.
Because we were talking about calculus.
This started with house calculus.
I enjoyed that tangent. I felt very. That was nice. That was a good. I felt like I was talking to you, and it just happened to be being recorded. That was nice. That's good shit. That's where we want to get with this podcast. And I say, I think a limbic system or 2 or 3 might have been engaged during that conversation. I like that.
I hope I touched all of your limbic systems.
Maybe that could be like our intro. Like, hey, welcome.
You ready to get your limbic systems fingered?
Okay.
I'm ready to put my hands all over your limbic system.
Oh my God. All right. We'll end it there. But
wait, no. I feel like there was one other thing that we're supposed to talk about.
No, I'm not saying the podcast. I'm saying that subject.
Oh, okay,
we're putting a pin in that one.
Because I could have sworn there was one other thing.
There are 2 more things, and that is the lathe and Thanksgiving. So the lathe, I'll just say it right now. I bought a lathe. I love woodworking. I bought a lathe. It's going to be in my garage. I'm going to be turning some wood. I like to make Christmas ornaments in particular. And so we decided to hold a competition. So if you comment anything about the lathe and the ornament, and you want an ornament for yourself, I will pay for the postage. I will make one for you, and I'll mail it to you. Only one person can win. The competition concludes on the 18th of December. This year, 2018, if you comment that you want this thing, it's not going to be random. If a bunch of people say it and one person has a great comment and all the rest are shit comments, that person wins. Whoever comments it, it's not a first come, first serve. It's not a last come, first serve. It's whoever has the best comment pertaining to wanting this ornament will get.
So make it clever. Write a poem. Or, in fact, write us a jingle.
Yeah, write us whatever. But, if you're the only person who even listens this far into the podcast, which is entirely possible, take your chance. Why not? What do you have to lose? Worst case scenario, you gain some firewood. Just leave that comment. We'll let you know if you win or not. I would love to have at least one person comment. I feel like we are setting ourselves up for the realization that nobody will listen to an hour and 53 minutes of us talking.
But that does mean that if you do comment, your chances are extremely high.
Yep, that's actually true. So remember, December 18th, that's a week before Christmas, 2018 this year. So the final topic I'd like to talk about is Thanksgiving happened. I think it's only appropriate we each say something we are thankful for. You go first, because I haven't thought
Come
about
on, I just started thinking about that too. Things I'm thankful for.
And we'll try and make it quick. We'll try not to make it too sappy and too slow because I hate long endings to podcasts.
I'm really thankful for my 2 dogs. And when I went home this for the break, it really struck me as, man, these dogs are getting old. Like, they're gonna die soon.
That hit me as well. I had the same thought. I was like,
make me really
I
sad.
had the thought of which one's gonna die first. My money's on Ginger.
Really?
Yeah.
My money's 100% on Maddie.
No, we probably shouldn't.
No, we shouldn't think about that. That's a little bit too far.
But if Ginger dies first, I am totally saying I told you so.
Well, if Maddie dies first, I'm gonna be upset, and I'm probably not gonna say I told you so because I'm not gonna want to bring it up because I'm.
Is a dog die?
I feel like those dogs. Maddie's been like a part of my life for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, I remember picking her out as a puppy.
Me
I'm
too.
thankful for Maddie.
I remember
as well.
arguing over her name and being so mad that we chose Maddie.
What else would it have been?
I don't remember, but I had some badass names.
This sounds like a name that Elena chose, and like Elena and Mom chose.
It was definitely. I definitely remember Mom saying like, "This is her name. You guys, let's propose names." And we all like proposed a name, and Mom's like, "Oh yeah, Maddie, it is."
Yeah, I think I do remember that.
Anyway,
kind of going. I don't remember it perfectly, but I do remember it kind of going down like that.
I would say I'm very thankful for my 2 dogs.
Yeah, that's what you're thankful for.
And it's one of the things. You go now, and I'll think of something more deep.
Okay, you only get to be thankful for 2 things.
Okay.
And they don't have. These are not our top 2 thankful things. I'm thankful for. Trying to think about how to say it. I'm thankful for I just feel very lucky in general. I am able to, I got a washing machine in my house. It's the little things. I got running water. I got a shower. I have a bathroom attached to my bedroom. I feel so lucky for that. I feel so lucky. I have a car.
Wow.
I got a
flex
job.
on some more.
Yeah, I got a sweet ass Prius from like 5 years ago. Pretty dope. Gets like 30 miles per gallon minimum. 50 usually on the realistic high end. Not bad. I'm thankful just for the freedoms that come with living here. I do think a lot about how some people are not as lucky. I really think about that a lot. So that's one thing I'm extremely thankful for. And then, of course, family. You got to say that. You got it. And it's true. I do feel like I was very lucky with my family. What's yours?
I would say mine's kind of a combination, an amalgam of the last 2 you said, of family and everything that you have. I just want to say, I'm thankful for the way we were raised.
Yeah.
I feel like we were raised to think for ourselves, to not be like, oh, my dad thinks this, I feel like I have to think this.
Yeah.
I feel like over Thanksgiving break, my dad, like, he would say some, like, political thing, and I'd be like, well, Dad, I'm not totally sure if that's
I disagreed with Dad a couple times.
And then
Dad leans pretty hard left sometimes. He's
but he
pretty
also,
quick to jump the gun.
Also leans pretty hard. Dad is very conservative, but very anti-Trump.
Well, I think that generally sums up a lot of people. A lot of smart people I know are very right-leaning, but very anti-Trump regardless.
Yeah, so I feel like most of the lefter things he says are just anti-Trump, but I do hear him say a lot of things about, like, people are so lazy. Why should, like, we have to support, like, the scumbags that don't do anything?
It is very annoying when you hear about that stuff being abused.
It is true, but
I also think a government has a bit of a responsibility to help people, but I think it's hard to.
It's a fine line of, like, helping someone and handing everything to them.
It's tough to, yeah. But we got to get back onto this.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm thankful for the fact that, like, I could disagree with him and not feel like.
Yeah, like he doesn't just call you stupid.
I'm glad I can disagree with him, and then we can say,
Yeah.
Anyway, Sawyer Swimmy went well, and then just totally talk about that without any feelings of like.
That's not so with our grandparents, though.
No, you can't say anything mildly conservative around Grandpa.
And you can't say probably the opposite end around Grandma.
Yeah, which is other grandma, other side of the family. They're not married. That would be.
Dad's side was super liberal. Like, I'm talking go to protests liberal. And then Mom's side was so conservative. They would like. I remember hearing them do like a toast to like. Oh, I can't even say it. It's too bad. But you know what else I'm thankful for?
Wow, just take another thing.
You got something else you're thankful for?
This one, I'm sure I'll be thankful for this as well. You go.
Oh, this is going to be the last thing anybody's thankful for on this podcast. This episode.
Oh, I was actually just thinking about that.
Because I am thankful for this podcast not needing to be heavily edited and this podcast being under 2 hours long. Thanks and good night.
Good night.